Hey friends, welcome back to the Renewed Homestead. I'm Denise, and today I'm making Jewelweed Salve, and I thought I'd bring you along while I make it. This is how we make our comfrey plantain salve as well. And Jewelweed Salve is really great for poison ivy rashes. So we do our comfrey plantain salve, which we also sell on our website at renewedhomestead.com/shop if you're interested in buying some. But we'll typically use that for, bug bites, scrapes, cuts, things of that nature to heal and soothe. It doesn't work as well on poison ivy though as jewelweed does. And this stuff is amazing at helping with poison ivy, rash, and itch. And we actually tried this last year. Alec and Ben both got into poison ivy. So we had ordered some jewelweed soap as well as a salve, and it worked amazingly well. We have jewelweed all over that grows wild here, so I thought, well, let's go ahead and make our own salve. So we have that ready to go. Ben is actually making really good progress on the barn, and once the barn is done, we're going to be focusing on getting the fencing done up the mountainside, and guaranteed we will run into poison ivy. So I want to make sure we have this ready to go. Now, jewelweed is actually native to the eastern U.S., and I believe it's found in many parts of the Midwest and the Northeast as well. It grows wild. It's actually one of my favorite plants. It's absolutely beautiful. And the whole, like the aerial parts of the plant, so everything above ground, you'll want to utilize for your salves. Now, it is the sap that is in the plant that basically where the medicine is at is in the sap. So you want to use this fresh. I love freeze drying most of our herbs because it just helps keep the nutrients and keeps it fresh for when I want to use the herb. But jewelweed, because it is the sap that you really want to utilize, it doesn't work as well in the freeze dryer. So you definitely want to use jewelweed fresh. Now, like I said, jewelweed is a native flower. Locals around here call it waterweed because it grows on creek banks and in streams. And I have found that it really prefers shade and partially sunny or dappled sunny spots. It will grow in full sun. We actually have some near our duck area that's actually growing in full sun, but it doesn't do as well there. It really wants to be in shade and near water. So like I said, locals call it waterweed, and it does this beautiful orange flower. It's, like I said, it's absolutely one of my favorite plants on the homestead. Now, in addition to being medicinal, and a lot of people use it for bug bites, scrapes, most people use it for poison ivy, and that's what we use it for. It is also edible. So a lot of people will eat the flowers and the seeds. Now, it is high in oxalic acid though, so if you're really going to do a large amount of it, especially the leaves, you will want to cook it, and you'll probably want to avoid it if you deal with kidney stones or things of that nature because of the oxalic acid content. But not only is it medicinal, it's also edible, and it's absolutely beautiful, and it grows wild everywhere. So I'm going to show you today how to make this salve. Now, we are on take number 3. The first go around that we recorded, my head was cut off, and then we tried the second time and the microphone wasn't working. So we're going to say lucky number 3, right? Third time's the charm. So what you want to do when you first get your jewelweed, you're going to want to check it over for dirt and for bugs. We actually, when I brought this in, we actually found a firefly on it. So we went ahead and got that out. But you'll want to definitely, like I said, wipe down the leaves, make sure there's no dirt on it, make sure there's no bugs. Now, because as I mentioned, it is the sap, you really want to make sure that you cut this and use the stems, the flowers, the leaves, as I stated, all aerial parts of the plant. And that just means above ground. So what we do is we just cut this up into small pieces, and I'm just showing you this here because the video broke out on us on the first rendition, and we just stuff jars full. Now you're going to want to really make sure it's packed in there, and we fill it, as you can see, most of the way full, just over 2/3 cup full, I would say. And one of the reasons we want to cut it up, there's actually 2 reasons. The one is that you're going to want to make sure it fits in the jar well, but also because the sap is in the stem, leaves, things of that nature, you want to make sure that you have a lot of surface area for that sap to come out of and to actually infuse into your oil. So as you can see, we're just stuffing the jar full, and I'm going to finish getting this jar stuffed, and then we'll show you the next step. All right, so we have our jars full, and we are going to infuse them with olive oil. Now, you can also use jojoba oil or another neutral oil. You can even do half olive oil, half jojoba. We typically use olive oil, and we always use organic because you don't want the chemicals from a non-organic olive oil or oil in your salve. It can actually create skin irritations, which is the exact opposite of what we want. So what we're going to do is fill this. Now, like I stated, you want to make sure your jars are packed full so you get as much of that good medicine as possible. And then we are just going to cover it with olive oil. So you can see already, pretty simple. All right, once it's covered, you want to just take like the end of a wooden spoon or whatever, just make sure that oil's down in there throughout the leaves. And you can see as I go here, some of that oil is draining down. So add just a little bit more. Like I said, you just want to cover it. The whole jar doesn't need to be full, but you want to make sure the leaves are covered. All right, so I don't know if I mentioned we are going to use the quick extraction method, which is utilizing heat. A lot of times what you can do is take your herbs and actually infuse them in olive oil for 30 days. And then all you'll need to do is add a little bit of beeswax, melt the beeswax in and create your salve. Like I said, we're doing the quick method today. So what we're going to do, as we've stated, we've taken the jewelweed and we have added it to our jars. And now we're going to head over to the stove and I'm going to show you the next step. Okay, so for this part, you're going to want to stay next to the stove. Now, some people use a crock pot. I typically just use a pan with water. And so what I do is I set it on like a medium high to get the water simmering, and it's going to be on an extremely low simmer. You want this to be very, very low heat. All right, and we're going to put this on a low simmer for about 3 hours. And we want to make sure, typically with the comfrey plantain salve, I'll do 2. But on the jewelweed salve, I'm going to do 2.5 to 3 hours. So you want to remain close to the stove because you're probably going to need to come back and add water to the pot. So you want to make sure it does not go dry or else your salve's going to be ruined. All right, so I will come back in about 3 hours or so with the magic of editing, and I'll show you the next steps. All right, so it's been about 3 hours, and I was out in the garden for just a little bit doing a few things, and my hair rebelled. It's about 80% humidity outside. It is a really, really humid day, but this is ready to go. So what a lot of people do is they will strain this into a cheesecloth or a coffee filter. I have a filter here that I typically use for making salves. So I'm going to carefully pour it into there. And remember, we've had this on low for about 3 hours, very, very low, so that we can allow the heat to extract the sap and the medicines from the jewelweed. And one thing I want to mention, make sure you're stirring it every so often just to make sure you get all the jewelweed combined into the oil. So we're going to go ahead and just strain it into this bowl, and then I'm going to show you the next step. All right, and I will go ahead and just usually take my hands and try to wring out a little bit more of the olive oil. It's a little bit warm right now, so we're gonna let this sit for just a minute, and then I'll come through and wring out the rest of the olive oil from the jewelweed. All right, I'm sorry, I just have the one camera, so it's hard to show you, but I'm just basically taking this and wringing it out. It is a little slimy, so expect that. All right, and once that's done, I will dry off my hands and they will actually feel very, very moisturized. This is a really cool aspect of doing the salves. All right, so the next step now is adding beeswax. Now, some people will allow the oil to cool completely and add essential oils like lavender or sweet orange. I don't typically add those because not everybody likes lavender. Some people might be allergic to it. So I typically just use jewelweed, olive oil, and beeswax. That's it. So I'm gonna go grab the oil. I've got this in a kind of makeshift double boiler. We've got it on low. The only thing we want to do is make sure that beeswax melts. So let me go grab the oil. And get all that oil. You don't want to miss any of that goodness. Okay, and this is going to make a pretty big batch of jewelweed. And we're going to go ahead and add about 8 tablespoons of beeswax. All right, and I use organic beeswax. Again, you don't want all the chemicals in it because you don't want it to irritate your skin. And the only thing you're doing is slowly heating this so the beeswax can basically harden the salve. So the more beeswax you add, the harder it will be. So like if you add more beeswax, it might be more of a lip balm consistency. And if you add less, you'll have more of the like lotiony consistency, if that makes sense. So we're just gonna stir this till it melts, and then we're gonna pour it into our salve tins. All right, the beeswax is pretty well melted, so let's go get it in our herbal tins. All right, so if you bring it over to the table, get ready to pour it into your salve tins, and you notice that the beeswax you might see a couple that didn't completely melt. Give it a minute, it should melt because the oil is warm. Now, I always spill, and I did that right here as I was pouring this in. So I'm going to go ahead and pour it into a measuring cup so we can pour a little bit easier. Now, remember, this is warm, so be careful. But you'll want to get this in the tins right away, because that beeswax, as it melts, it's going to solidify, and you don't want that in your pan. All right, I'm going to go fill up some more tins because we're going to give this away as gifts. And we might actually start selling Jewelweed Salve on the website. So if you're interested, let me know, and I can put it on renewedhomestead.com/shop. And that's where you can get the Jewelweed Salves as well as the Comfrey Plantain Salves. So I'm going to get this in the rest of them, and then we'll be back when this solidifies. All right, so the gel is set up. So I'll show the camera so you can see what it looks like. Label it, put the tops on, and we're done. So it's actually a really simple process. And if you get into poison ivy, poison oak, those types of things, you will be very glad you had it. So if you are interested in purchasing some, let me know and I'll get it put up on the website. I'm not sure how much interest there is, so let us know. All right, thank you guys so much for being here. God bless. We are praying for you. We appreciate the prayers for us. Have a blessed day. Bye, y'all.
Make it so.